Hi guys, in this video I would like to talk about Linux basics. So if you have been a Windows user or Mac OS user, and if you want to try a new operating system, or in whatever situation you have to start working on Linux, or you want to become a Linux administrator and you don't know where to start, I think this video would be a good start for you. Okay, so let's just start. So what is Linux? Linux is just like a operating system. It's a kernel, okay, which was an open source. It started as a Unix, okay. It started Linux Torvald. He was a computer science student, and he started this Linux, okay, creating this Linux, okay. And these days there are different flavors of Linux. We call it distros, okay. There are different Linux distros. The main thing that you want to know is there are two main distros. The first is a Red Hat and Ubuntu, okay. And then from the Red Hat there will be distros based on Red Hat. There are distros based on Debian, okay, Ubuntu, etc. These are based on Debian, and this particular one that I am using is called MX Linux, and there are other Linux distros which are optimized for securities, for example, like Kali Linux or Parrot Linux, okay. So we can go to this distrowatch.com, and then you can do a bit of a research on which Linux distributions are getting popular, or which particular distribution, their strengths and weaknesses of these distros. You can have a look and do some research on it, or you can just type like Linux distros, and you will see there are quite a lot of Linux distros, okay, unlike Windows, where there's only Windows 10. In Linux there are many different flavors, okay. There are different, you may have heard of Ubuntu, okay, and you may have heard of Kali. People talk about, I want to be a hacker, okay, there's Kali Linux for you. And there's also Parrot Linux, which is a good security focused Linux. There are many tools pre-installed, okay. If you're a Debian user, there's Ubuntu. If you want to start from something similar to Windows, there is Linux Mint, okay. And yeah, there are different flavors of Linux. As you can see, I can scroll right next, just keep on scrolling, and there are a lot of Linux flavors, okay. And if you are desktop focused, MX Linux is a good Linux for you, okay. So, and these days Linux is it's not like old days. You can install the just a plain command line basic kernel, basic operating system. But if you want to, there are GUIs, graphical user interfaces, which are very simple to navigate, okay. So unlike 5 years ago, 10 years ago, Linux may have been difficult for most users. These days Linux got every tools. There is a strong community. There are drivers out there for your graphics, your video cards, okay. So it's very simple. There are many tools out there. There are Office, just like Microsoft Office. There are Linux Open Office, Okay, and mine. So I've got this LibreOffice. So as you can see, I've got this LibreOffice Writer, Draw, Calculator. There are different LibreOffice. It's just like Microsoft Office. These are Office tools. Okay, there are many tools ready out there, so you don't have to be lost if you hear if you heard about Linux. It's not just command lines anymore. You can go with command lines if you're happy with it, or you don't have to if you're not too much familiar with Linux commands. You still can go with the graphical user interface. Okay, so this is a quick review of Linux, and then you can just go and do a bit of research and download one of those. Okay, so assuming that you would have been a Windows user, as I was, what you can do is you can download. Let's say you go to Ubuntu. You want to try Ubuntu. So go to Ubuntu website, and you have to download the iOS. Okay, ubuntu.com, and download the iOS. Visit site and download, and there are different Ubuntu's in it. Okay, in Ubuntu there are different OS. So as you can see, it is currently on 20.404 LTS, so it's a long-term support. Okay, and there are different server versions. The difference between server versions and desktop versions. Desktops, you have like more desktop-oriented tools in there. Okay, like media player, for example, like Office, for example. Okay, and Ubuntu server, they're more focused on server applications. The base kernel will be the same, but it will have more server applications, like Apache on Nginx. No? Okay, so these will be installed for the Ubuntu server. Another reason why you want to move to Linux is that these days people are moving towards cloud. Okay, and if you want to be a cloud administrator, or cloud engineer, or technical support engineer, Linux is a must know knowledge for you. You need to know Linux. You must know Linux. Okay, so the best way would be to download the operating system and try it on your computer. Okay, you can try it with a virtual machine if you want to. For me, I prefer to install it on a whole new computer, but that's just me. Okay, you can always download and install in a virtual machine. Okay, or another thing is, if you're a Windows user, okay, Windows have this thing called WSL, okay, Windows Subsystem for Linux. Okay, you can just download it from the store. I cannot show you at the moment because I am on a Linux machine. On a Windows machine, there is a Windows subsystem, and from the Windows, I think Microsoft Store, I think. You can just download. You can just search for Ubuntu, for example, and just download and start the operating system without having to install it on a virtual machine or run it on a hypervisor. You can run a Linux machine simultaneously on Windows. Okay, so there is a WSL if you want to try Linux. Okay, so let's say you have already downloaded Ubuntu iOS. Okay, and then what you have to do, the first thing you have to do, you can burn it on a CD, or these days if your laptop or if it doesn't have a CD driver, you can burn it on the USB. Okay, for Windows user, it's a good tool. It's called Rufus. Okay, if you download Rufus, there are instructions there. It's very easy to use. Okay, and burn as a DD image. Make sure you burn as a DD image, and then boot your computer, and then boot it from the USB, and just follow the instructions. The installation should be pretty straightforward. It's not like the old days. You can just go with the GUI and then it will just tell you what you have to do. It's just if you have installed Windows before, installing Linux shouldn't be a difficult thing. You can just follow the GUI. Okay, so alright, so let's say you have already installed Linux, or let's say you already run Ubuntu. Another thing I forgot to mention, in Linux, in many distros, you can also have a live image install on the USB. If you just want to try it out, you don't want to install, you just want to try it out, what you can do is you can burn the live image into your USB without actually installing it onto your computer. You can just run it from there. Okay. Good thing about Linux is it's lightweight, it consumes less resources, it's fast, it's secure. Okay, and yeah, a lot of people are using it already. It's not that difficult as you would imagine, not like 10 years ago. Okay, it's pretty straightforward. Alright, just a quick review. I will create another video with Linux command lines. Right, that's it for let's make this video part 1 of Linux series. Right, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.